Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. Alongside the czar of the playbook, it's Emery Hunt. I'm Tyler Mirkovich, and today we'll be bringing you our independent team previews. Emery, let's start out with one of the most popular teams in America. That's the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. A lot of rumblings about Charlie Weis after a 7-6 record last season. Of course, they get the big win in the Hawaii Bowl last season. What do they have in store for this year? They signed the number one linebacker in the country, Manti Te'o. They got a veteran quarterback now, Jimmy Clausen. What do you think?
Well, it's a lot to be excited this year at Notre Dame. You look at the fact that they went 7-6 last year. A lot of pundits are expecting these guys to have a breakout year, maybe make it to a BCS bowl game due to the fact that they have an easy schedule. But you look on offense, they have the big quarterback in Jimmy Clausen. This is his third year. He was lucky to get thrown into the fire as a freshman, kind of learned on the run. Sophomore year, he improved a little bit, but the offense kind of took a step back. Running game with the Armando Allen, James Aldridge, those guys should be more improved this year. Armando Allen is a big playmaker for him. And on the outside, he has a wide receivers, Golden Tate, Kamara,
Michael Floyd, freshman last season, who's coming into his own. And, of course, they got Sam Young to anchor that offensive line.
Yeah, Sam Young is 6'8", 330. You got a big guy like that on an offensive line, it's going to do wonders. And you look at those receivers, Floyd and Kamara, those guys 6'3", 6'5", respectively. So there's some big targets. So there's a lot to be excited about on offense because it's Charlie Weis's, fourth year there. So he has to show now his recruits are entrenched in that lineup, so he has to play. I'm just worried about that Notre Dame defense.
One of their biggest additions might be on the defensive side of the ball, and it might not even be Manti Te'o. It might be the defensive coordinator coming over from Georgia Tech, John Zanuda, and he's going to have this team run. He likes to play aggressive style defense. They want to bring in the recruits. They need to play more defense. This is what they've been lacking. What do you think?
They've been in a lot of shootouts last year, and one thing, if you look at the tapes from Georgia Tech years past, one thing that's always been tough with Georgia Tech has been that defense. So that's a big addition to Notre Dame right now, bringing that in to Notre Dame to anchor that defense and help with that freshman linebacker who's going to be a stud, I think. He's going to be nice.
Let's talk about their schedule. Everyone thinks they have a soft enough schedule that this team can get to a BCS bowl game. I think the game is winnable against USC in the middle of the season. I think they could win that game in South Bend, and I think it's going to come down to their second half of the season where they play BC, Washington State, Navy, Pitt, Connecticut, and Stanford. Those last 6 games, they should win almost all of them, but I think the last one, the tough one, might be at Stanford.
At Stanford, you calling them to beat USC?
I think they might.
I'm writing it down. I'm just making sure. To me, I don't like the schedule. I think that USC game, that's the biggest one. I think USC is that much better than Notre Dame. To me, they have a tough schedule. I look at they have Pitt, they have Stanford, they have Nevada. Don't sleep on Nevada week 1 with that big quarterback Colin Kaepernick. That's a big guy. Threw for 2,000 yards, rushed for 1,000 yards. That can give that defense some problems. You look at also Stanford. Harbaugh has those guys going in the right direction. And don't sleep on Navy. Navy could have beat these guys last year. And one thing about that triple option, if you're not prepared for it, it can beat you soundly. So I think Navy might have a shot. But I just don't see them getting to a BCS game. As much as I would like to see Notre Dame in the BCS game, I just can't see them getting past certain teams. Like I said, Pitt. I have a lot of questions on that defense. USC is gonna be a tough one for them. But I mean, it's a lot to be excited about with the those veteran offensive linemen, the veteran skill players, Notre coming over with defense. So you can see where one would think Notre Dame should be vastly improved this year.
Well, if they could get by Nevada, Michigan, and Michigan State the first 3 games of the season and go 3-0, it should be interesting. It's going to come down to that USC game. You think they might lose? I think they could win that game. And the second half of the year, I think it's rather soft. I think the only game that is going to be a problem for them is that game at Stanford. I'm not too high on Pitt, but when it comes down to it, in the second half of the season, their last 6 games, they should win. I know you like Navy, but I'm going to say Pitt or Stanford. It's going to come down to them too.
It's going to be fun to watch Notre Dame this year, though. And speaking of Navy, you look at what they got going on. That option offense, they're going to be deadly on offense. One thing about option football, you need to have a stable of backs. And they did a good job in recruiting. Got 3 backs coming in this year. They have 5 backs coming in, but 2 backs really caught my attention. Matt Warwick, he's 6'2", 215. He's kind of a bigger back that they're used to getting, but that comes as a success of winning programs. You're going to get the recruits that you get in. He's a real good back. You look at Jared Mack. He's 5'10", 215. So they got some good guys coming in, and you need a stable of backs because you're going to constantly go through backs throughout the season in that option offense. So I like Navy and what they got going on offense.
Yeah, they inherited the system from Paul Johnson, of course, who departed to Georgia Tech, but Ken Niuma Tololo has taken over. They were 8-5 last year, but they have a totally different schedule. They go to Ohio State to open up. In the middle of the season, they go to Pitt, and they host Wake Forest. So can they have the same success as they had last year? Can they get to 8-5?
It's going to be tough because they lose the starting quarterback and they lose some people on offense, but they get a lot of guys back. They have 7 stars returning on defense, and so that's going to be vastly improved. Looking at the schedule, Ohio State, you're going to hear it here first. I'm gonna say it right here on camera. Ohio State better take Navy seriously. Because you don't want what happened last year when Ohio came into Ohio State and could have pulled off the upset. Navy is a better team in Ohio, so Ohio needs to be prepared for Navy because they may not beat them, but the score will be closer than the experts think. And I think Navy has a tough slate in the first half. They got Ohio State, La Tech, Pitt. That's a tough schedule. So I look at Wake Forest, even though they beat Wake Forest last year, but Wake Forest double backed and beat them in the bowl game. So I can see maybe they can get to 8 wins on the back of their schedule.
And they might be looking ahead Ohio State to USC like they were last year.
Exactly.
Ohio was giving them problems. But it should be interesting for how Niuma Tololo fares in his second season there. Can he keep it consistent?
One thing he has to do is beat Army.
Let's talk about them. They bring in a new coach, and he was Division I AA. I know you used to love this squad. Cal Poly. It's Coach Rich Ellerson. And he takes over a 3-9 Army squad. He brings over his offensive coordinator, brings over his defensive coordinator to split duties with a guy who's at Michigan State. So he's also gonna bring that triple option offense, like we mentioned. So now it's 2 commander-in-chief squads running the option.
And one thing, when you think of military academies, you think of option football. Even back when you think of Air Force, Navy, Army, historically they run the option. So it's good to see the option back in West Point, New York. I think that's going to help them out tremendously with their schedule. They have a pretty fairly easy schedule for Army. If they can get some breaks, they can run the table and probably have their first win of the season since '96. But I also look at their defense. That defense has to improve. They run a 4-3, so they're going to try to get big guys up front, and it's tough for the military academies to get big guys on the offense and the defensive line. So if they can improve that defense, they have 7 starters coming back as well. They 2 big guys. They have Josh McNary, 4.5 sacks last year. He's going to be vastly improved. He's a smaller guy, plays on the defensive line, but he's fast. He's quick, so that's going to help them out. And I like I said, I like that schedule. They're bringing another guy, a freshman, Justin Warmley. He's going to be good. He's 6'2", 240. They're going to put him at defensive end. So I like the moves that they're making. That, once again, like we said before, that option offense is deadly. If you don't prepare for it, if one person's out of place, it's a touchdown waiting to happen. And I like their schedule. So the big game they have is September 26th against Iowa State. If they can get past Iowa State, then this could be a good year up in West Point.
Those military schools, they bring the slim fit. They don't have the big guys. Sometimes they bring the speed. So sometimes it could work to their advantage. Sometimes it could work as a disadvantage.
Correct.
So those are the independent schools. That's Emery Hunt. I'm Tyler Mirkovich. For more college football previews, visit footballgameplan.com/NCAA.